An education activist has called on the Pretoria High School for girls to initiate open and honest discussions about race and racism to tackle the pervasive issue of racism in schools across the country. It comes after 12 learners from the Pretoria High School for girls were suspended for alleged racist behaviour. Hendrick Makaneta believes that promoting constructive dialogue is crucial in eradicating racism in educational institutions nationwide. He joins us now. Very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. You speak about some of the solutions, as earlier on I had a discussion with some of the parents of those learners who were victimized, and really just talking about how they don't expect that 30 years after democracy that we would be still talking about racism, more so young people in schools.
There is no doubt that the issue continues to be with us, and I think that schools, and by extension the department, has not done enough even in the past 30 years to make sure that there are dialogue on race and racism regularly taking place in schools. You find that people sweep these issues under the carpet. They pretend as if they don't exist. So I think that there is really a need for schools such as Pretoria High School for Girls to initiate engagements with learners to make sure that regularly dialogues take place on race and racism. This concept is clearly defined, and both black and white learners should be able to openly have a conversation, about the issue, with a view to ensuring that where it creeps out, it is addressed speedily. There's a need for greater collaboration, between black and white students in the terrain of education. And without any proper dialogue, we might see the issue, carrying on. Because if you check in society in general, whenever you go into gatherings and so on, black people tend to group themselves together, their friends, and that is almost natural. And at the same time, the same happens with whites. If you go into a conference, you'll find that a group of white people are sitting at a corner somewhere, black people are sitting at another corner, and so on. So we really need to introduce these debates around schools, ensure that we integrate our young people at an early age.
What should be some of the focal areas of discussion as we look to promoting constructive dialogue around issues of racism?
Well, we should openly, have conversations about the role that was played by, the racist regime, the apartheid regime in dividing society. And these conversations must be had with, white children. It cannot be correct that, white kids are protected from the history of colonialism and apartheid. They don't talk openly about it. These issues must be brought to the fore. There must be discussions with a view to ensuring that at the end of the discussion, what is the way forward? What type of society do we want to create? I mean, learners themselves must take part in this debate, and they must be able to be given a chance, both black and white, Indian and colored. These learners must be given a chance to express themselves. And as I said, these are, kind of dialogues must happen regularly, whereby learners can say, what kind of future or what kind of society do we need? We all know that, our state wants to build a non-racial, non-sexist, democratic society which continues to be united. And even the Constitution, if you look at the preamble, it clearly states that both South Africa belongs to all of us, black and white. But these things should not remain on paper. We need to make sure that they become practical. I mean, These kids come from different homes, and whatever they are taught at home is something that we don't see.
Surely, Hendrick, that practicality will require a certain sense of leadership, because one of the allegations that have been brought forward by the parents and some of the learners is that this is a matter that was already taking place last year and only brought to the surface just recently, and the allegations and the discomfort had been expressed allegedly to the principal and no action had been taken. So what kind of leadership will be required here to steer the conversation and ensure that there is a dialogue and that the discomforts are addressed and that elements of racism are curbed?
Clearly, we need value-based leadership, not only in Pretoria High School for girls, but throughout the terrain of education. But at the same time, we also need clear policies that talk directly to racism. And these policies must be incorporated into the policies of the schools. And of course, we also need clear guidelines as to what should be the consequences of racist conduct within the school premises. You know, proper action should be able to be taken in line with clearly defined principles that can be incorporated into, you know, the learner conduct, code of conduct at school level. And currently, we don't have a lot of, such policies, which speak directly to racism. You know, people don't clearly define it. That is why I'm saying a dialogue must take place amongst both learners and teachers. And out of this dialogue, you know, these policies must be crafted. And of course, everyone must be able to know that we deserve to live in a country where, we are free of racism. Of course, this thing of racism, is causing a lot of problems. The perpetrators may not be aware, but the victims often find themselves in a situation where they are also in a suicidal mode. Some of them suffer depression as well as anxiety. And we can no longer, sweep it under the carpet. We must find a way to deal with it openly by engaging. You can't deal with it through all discipline alone. I don't think that much will be achieved with the disciplinary process. We need to engage, people who are engaged in this type of behavior. We must bring them on board. They must be brought to the table. They must be engaged thoroughly so that we can hear where they come from as well.
Very well. Thank you so much for weighing in on this discussion, Hendrick Makaneta. Of course, just giving us a sense of his views, saying that he believes that promoting constructive dialogue is crucial in eradicating racism in educational institutions nationwide.